Back squat, we've covered a lot of the position already. That's why I go ground up from the deadlift. Okay, so that foot position, like the biggest question is like, what should my foot width be? That's where Jesus puts me, right? Now, I'm gonna open my toes up naturally because I'm basing out. But since I've already created a base, I don't have to stay there. I still want my toes forward, and that's our one. You know, I don't care at all if people are toe out a bit, but what we're trying to do is start working our way in over a period of time to get to that neutral standpoint. The other thing too is like what I really suggest for you guys to do as part of your warm up is get in position. So what does that mean? It means, right, a lot of times we get in the squat rack, right? We're like, you know, yeah, I got my hands lined up, whatever I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get under the bar, right? And then I'm gonna, you know, my upper body is like, oh, I've got the bar, that's good enough. Man, how tight are your shoulders usually? You know, it's like everything's like, oh my God, it's stiff. So my warm up is get my feet set where I'm gonna squat from, engage my glutes, ribs down. I'm gonna start working to make sure my grip is good. I'm gonna take my time, right? Fire my hips, get my breath, stretch my neck out. Because again, I want elbows here. That's our goal, is elbows in. Because again, we talk about internal rotation, the knees will dive. Okay, is this any coach that lets their athletes squat with their elbows back? Get a new coach. Okay. Now, granted, some people with shoulder immobility issues, you might start here. But then but if someone starts here because they're tight, they're gonna end up squatting here, right? So again, here's the crazy thing. So when I say chin away, hips want to come forward. But when I internally rotate, the knees have to dive. That's why you see this, when people descend, the chin comes up, elbows go back, knees come in, right? The cause and effect is because the position of the head forces the hips to want to come forward. Because the hips can't go forward, the knees have to dive in. It's cause and effect. So I'm going to spend my warm-up time, right, glute, right, trying to really find what stable feels like before I even try to get my lower body to move, right? Because we were talking about in the pool, right? The function of your kick is only as efficient as the position of your upper body through the water, right? Because your body is the first thing to encounter force, okay? The bar is on your shoulders. It's the first thing encountering force management, other than your feet, okay? So I'm gonna spend my warm up just working on ribs down, elbows down, a couple reps before I even try to move that bar stable, okay? So that's one of those things I encourage you to do, and we'll do that when we get on our warm up. The other thing is, you know, hand width is different too. So it should be as tight as we can be without shrugging. And the reason why is because, right, having just like a wrestling standpoint, right? Have someone hold their arm out here and wrestle them away. You own them all day. It's like the linebacker, it's like an offensive lineman. Bam! I get my hands outside my elbow and beat, kind of thing too. So again, you see a lot of people hands out, hands on here. That's a big problem, right? Because now I've got a loose upper body, and I'm expecting my lower body to fire and still maintain. So if we do this, it's the same thing like gable grip. Boom, there's a reason why this is such a good place to be. Because I'm here, I'm stable, right? It's one of the games we used to play in wrestling in Wilton was, we would take playing cards, put them in your armpits, and you get on your knees, and you wrestle. Whoever dropped the playing card loses. It's just a big, trying to get the arms away. And how do you do that? You do it through rotation. Okay? So what we don't want to do is rotate the shoulders while we're in motion. Okay, so we lock the upper body and we move. A couple things too is one of the things I know I mentioned before, but I like to use the belt initially as a good cueing device because of this. Okay? Kind of already talked about it the other day, was when I'm like this, I have a belt on, of course, okay? And you see this so often, right? If you can see the fabric shouldn't stretch when you squat. That should never happen when you squat. Okay, truly never. All right, and that's why you have so many issues like this. Right, chin is up, ass is out, elbows are back. Right, I'm getting a tilt. So what we're trying to do is this. Really, I'm here. Okay, in the same way, remember when the bench press, we unrack it, we bring that bar down and the lats turn on. The same mechanism of the hip will happen when we push that butt back, hamstrings catch. So we go glute tight, so tricep tight, bar comes down, lats turn on. Unrack the weight, glutes are tight. When we talked about that wall, that 9-inch wall, that's what we're trying to do. We're taking the glutes and handing it off to the hamstrings. That's what makes up the lat with the bench press. That makes sense? It holds the same purpose. So when we do that, this angle, this bench, or this belt here then, doesn't do that. It's boom, boom. Now I can squat. So, and that's where the whole butt wink nonsense comes from. It comes from the top. So if I go here and I go boop, when I get to the bottom, what happens? The opposite. Because I created it from the top. It didn't happen in motion. The object was already in motion. I'm already out of position. The opposite then is hips go under because the pelvis is loose from the beginning. Okay? So if the pelvis doesn't get loose, the hamstrings take it, and it comes up. Does that make sense? So this belt, it's not super tight, and it's not meant to be, and it's not a detriment to me, but I like to feel this. If I'm really having a hard time getting position, and I start getting a lot of SI discomfort, right, the QL starts hurting, it's because you're allowing this to do this, because the hamstring should be pulling it down. Right? Does that make sense? So that's what I say. We'll get our warm up on, right? Get in position. Once we feel like, hey, I'm really stable, I'm actually pulling that bar down slightly relative to the weight or the effort to change direction at the bottom. I'm anticipating it. Okay? So I'm gonna unrack this bar. Okay? Long pin. So without getting too much of the minutia, we don't want to rush or brace too much. So it's that's our movement. The breathing, object in motion, belts in motion. We can speed it up, slow it down however we want. Breathing regulates our cadence. Okay, is that making sense? Okay, so that's why you're already seeing a lot of this stuff play out. We talked about serratus and lat stability, hand position, knuckles, where my head should be. And that's the thing with this, right? I can still, especially it's harder on the deadlift because the eyes want to come up. But on a squat, not an issue. So don't, even this, be real vigilant. And that's what the mirror really is. The mirror is checking to see if I'm drifting. The mirror is checking to see if I'm, right? We talked about an assessment where shoulders like, because that getting in position, right? Unracking, walking back, and holding the bar and going, oh crap. And then we fix it through breath, contraction, right? We set ourselves before we squat. Unfortunately, this mirror's not quite high enough, right? But we can still go, man, I don't feel right. And then we validate it through the mirror. Doesn't look right. I am tilted. Okay, well, I want to get as ordered as possible before I try to descend and ascend with a mass. That making sense? Okay? So that's the big, so we talk foot position, okay? We talk hand position, bar. Now, people say, hey, high bar, low bar, what should we be doing? The answer is yes. Okay? And now, there should be some variety to it. Now, if you're working towards a powerlifting goal, right, we want that low bar because it's more advantageous for the sport. If we're looking at athleticism, we want it as high as possible within comfort. So that way, right, everything is forward all the time, right? We want to be stable here, right? Even from the split position, right? Boom, that's where I want to be. I don't want to be in the habit of this. right? To suit the sport. The sport's great. No way is it negative we're talking about, but we tailor this to be athletic for a more broad athletic need. Not just, hey, let's base out, let's get to a bottom that we just need to get to 90, because that's what the sport is, finish. And in no way is that degrading that sport, but it's, you catch what I'm saying, okay?